Welcome to the SharkPreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Green. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Green is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Do you want to become insanely successful? Do you want to be the go-to guru in your industry? Do you want to be talked about for all the right reasons? For over 40 years, Kevin Harrington has helped people just like you become significant influencers. Now he's broken the process down in the Key Person of Influence Roadmap, and it's yours for free. Just text KPI to him at 727-888-2100. Text KPI to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free step-by-step guide. Text KPI to 727-888-2100 to get the recognition you deserve and experience the success as the go-to voice everyone listens to in your industry today. Welcome to the SharkPreneur podcast. This is your host, Seth Green. I am thrilled, as always, to be joined by the inventor of the infomercial and the original shark on Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thanks so much for being here.
Seth, I'm excited today. We got a special guest, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
We have a very special guest. We have none other than the Jay Abraham. In case you've been living under a rock for the last several decades, Jay has been the preeminent business executive, coach, guru, whatever term you want to apply that is laudatory applies to Jay. He's influenced tens of thousands of businesses. He's generated billions and billions of dollars of revenue. Folks like Mark Cuban, Damon John, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Stephen R. Covey, Harvey McKay, literally the thought leaders and luminaries of our time all refer to Jay as their mentor. Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I'm honored to have a forum to your audience.
So
hey, you said several decades. You can add a couple severals to that also, because we were just talking. Jay, I started hearing about Jay 35 years ago,
yep.
And so I know he was around long before that. So just not to date him or talk about how old, how many years you've been doing this, but it's been quite a few.
It has. This is funny. Pardon me, Kevin. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, and you know this, about supernovas. And I'm not criticizing anybody, but I said, if you asked me who the real estate guy was, the options guy, the biz op guy, the personal development other than Tony, the health guy or woman in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, they're not the same as today. People don't realize that we all have the Andy Warhol, the 15 minutes. You and I have endured. We're probably unique animals in a world of basically very short-lived phenomena.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a good place to start with this, Jay, because I think one of the things that I have really enjoyed myself is morphing and surviving as, I spent, and still have a little bit of dabblings in this world of as seen in TV, but TV viewership dropped by 50%. So yes. I've had to make a run, as I say, follow the eyeballs, it's been one of my, mantras now is, hey, they used to be on TV and now it's expensive to get to those, but now you can get them on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all that. But what has been, would you say, one of the core drivers for you as you're still out there kind of moving and shaking with a lot of the new players out there? How have you, ultimately, you're a genius at creative. Is that what's kept you alive through all of the iterations of distribution?
I'll tell you what I think my ability, gift, benefit, whatever, my source energy is. I started out being hopelessly curious and never staying in one industry. So over the course of my career, I've done over 1,000 industries. So when you keep going to new industries and you learn and you borrow and you carry forward the knowledge of all these different strategies, business models, distribution models, marketing approaches, value creation, ancillaries. You bring, it's like the one-eyed man in the land of the blind. Most people, no, you know this, most people in a given industry, plus or minus 20, 30%, they're all doing the same thing. They're all following the herd. And they're only going to be incrementally better. But if you bring, what I always found was ideas and approaches common as dirt from 3 or 4 other industries that aren't known in an industry. If you combine them into hybrids, which has been my gift, and you introduce them in an industry that doesn't do it that way, you kill it. And I seem to be the only person that went, I didn't go vertical, I went horizontal.
Yeah.
And I started in real commerce. I got very deep in information marketing. I did Entrepreneur Magazine, then I did 30 or 40 financial newsletters. And then I morphed into more, frankly, brick and mortar businesses. And then I went into training, and but when I did training, I never, this is interesting, I never just taught. Every time I taught, I would ask the audience to come to the mic and share actual elements they were doing of those, whether they learned them from me or not. So I got educated, and I would learn 90 or 100 different ways people were doing it. And I had a mind that would, I think, absorb it. And I kept traveling and pushing myself because I realized that to stay relevant, you have to have advantage. And the advantage can be technological. I'm not technologically sophisticated, but I probably understand, very frankly, business building with low risk and investment better than a majority of people. Let's not say everybody, but a majority of people.
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm on more than, I'd say, it depends on how you say a board of directors, but 5 or 6 public companies, and then a few other companies, so close to 10 boards. But you mentioned how when you get involved with so many industries, you learn something from each one, and it helps in the overall picture. And there is, every single time I join a board, like I joined the board of a company, and Li Kai-shing, who's a very wealthy guy over in Asia, worth about 30 billion. He's had 2 of his people from Horizon Ventures on this board. And it's like, all of a sudden you're networking inside that umbrella then, right? So you join me, hey, how would you like to be on Facebook's board of directors, right? I mean, there's an advantage to being involved with certain industries and more boards and all of that, as long as, you got to be careful not to get at overload. And that's, important on my side. I've actually jumped off a few boards recently because it wasn't doing enough for me, and I wasn't able to contribute enough to them, and just said, hey, let me just bow out. Thank you. Sometimes I just have to just say, hey, I don't want any more equity or whatever. It's just there's not enough of an upside for my time.
Well, and I think that, I learned, and I think you inherently, I learned earlier in my life, because I did work with a lot of let me make an interruption. I've helped, and this is not arrogant, it's clinical. I've helped about 300 of the world's top experts. Very, very blessed to have done it, but none of them came to me for help with their methodology. They came for help to articulate it better, value it better, comparatively contrast, denominate it better, but I had to learn it first. So I got this outrageous education, this compressed education. I have found, one of the things I did was the Deming organization, and most of the people under 50 wouldn't even know who Deming was, but he's the father of process improvement, optimization, highest and best use theory outside of real estate. And most people don't understand that everybody has the same 24 hours. Some people might have a little better IQ, but it's all about how much better you use your time, your opportunity, your access, your dollars, your intellectual capital. And most people don't have a broad enough context of optionality or possibility or alternative to know how to use higher, better, more safer. I mean, and I've been very blessed to see so damn many alternatives it gives you, it just, most people don't have the spectrum of understanding of higher performance possibilities.
Yeah. Hey, before we started, you mentioned Vietnam, and I have to just ask, because I've done stuff pretty much, I consider almost everywhere in the world. I've never been to Vietnam. What's happening down there?
It's growing. It's exploding. There's a lot of wealth.
A lot of manufacturing going down there too, right?
A lot of the China's moving over there. I tend to attract a very interesting entrepreneur, not as many corporate, but the people that are attracted to me are driven inherently to try to create value, but they don't know what it means. And I've been very popular in Asia. China, I'm really popular. Japan, I'm popular. Singapore, Malaysia, now Vietnam, but for a reason. Their educational system is rote training. So it's memorization. You say, hey, what's 10 divided by 5 plus 12 divided by 20 times 100 plus 26? But if you say, they don't have critical thinking. They don't have strategic thinking. They have tactical linear thinking. If you say, this is to this as this is to what, they don't know. But when you connect the dots, they come alive. So I've been very, it's a very promising market. And and I'll tell you the most touching thing about it, and it's a little weird. We have our Vietnam War Memorial, right?
Yeah.
And it's quite profound. When you go there, they have theirs, and it's equally as profound. When you travel outside your industry, that's my gig, it opens your mind. When you travel outside the country, you see so many different realities.
Right.
But it's a very, what I find in Asia is they're hungry. A lot of our entrepreneurs, they're more aspirant than they are performance.
Yeah.
In Asia, they, three families will live in an apartment. They'll work 22 hours. The only negative is they don't work strategically.
Yeah.
But they will outwork us because I think they have greater drive than a lot of us do, frankly. You may disagree.
No, I agree. I speak a lot of places, and one of the things I love, first of all, they have a higher level of respect, I think, for people like you and me. And I'm sure when you get done speaking, you probably get mobbed by the crowds over there. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, very popular. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And so it's a very respectful and they just have a way about them that I find very very friendly and willing to listen. And like you said, I think they love American kind of success to come over to their market.
Well, I mean, when you understand this, and again, politically, there's a lot of delicacy. But if you look at mindset, when you are addressing a mind that wants to really absorb and is trying really intensely to grasp and wants very badly to do something with it, versus an audience that is wanting unintentionally intellectual entertainment, it's very different. It's harder because it's through translation.
Right.
But if you can engage and if you can connect, it's very satisfying. I've had, and you probably the same. I've done Italy, I've done Paris, I've done all over the world. And as long as your intent is correct, and it's to transfer not just ideas, but transactional knowledge that can be actuated, and you really care about them and you regard them and you respect them, and they have, and their dignity and relevancy, they love you.
Yeah, super.
Jay, what are some of the mistakes you see entrepreneurs making today that your strategies could help them avoid or profit from?
Well, first of all, most of them have single source revenue. Doesn't matter what it is. They put all their eggs in one basket instead of really utilizing the leverage. I worked all my life, Seth, on the geometry of a business, trying to figure out not how to grow it incrementally, because that's slow and arduous, but how to grow it internally, at least for profit standpoint, I don't care much about revenue, but revenue certainly can be a driver. But I think most people, first of all, have single source. They're tactical, not strategic. They don't really focus on falling in love with the impact they can make with the purchaser, with the client. They don't really understand what value creation means to the other side. They don't try to relate in language and action so that the market really resonates with them. They don't really understand how to delineate, how to demonstrate, how to convey advantage. They don't understand how expensive it is to acquire a buyer and how many other ways they can monetize it, irrespective of what their main business is. They don't utilize their marketing effectively. I'm just giving you a few. They're not strategic. I already said that. They don't use their relationships well.
Yeah.
I could go on, but I mean, Kevin, do you disagree?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's funny. People ask me what are some of my biggest mistakes. You just named several, okay? That as a young entrepreneur, I mean, I'll go back to one of the biggest problems I made. I had 8 or 9 products on the air at one time. Okay. We were doing about 100 million. So we had diversified income, but all of it going through one merchant account. And we had one product that had a big problem. And so the returns and the chargebacks were massive on this one item. Well, guess what? The bank grabbed $2 million out of my bank account that day that they determined that I'd blown some fuse internally, that I'd gone over 1% chargeback or something. And so, boom, I'm missing $2 million out of my bank account, which was all the cash that I had.
No, and the people don't realize that that kills you. No, I had the same thing. We were the biggest account for my bank when I was in the publishing business. And one of our team members let a friend of theirs run a weight loss deal that I didn't even know about through our credit card. It was like $20,000, but it was terrible complaints. And they froze all our money for 6 months.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. I don't care how successful you appear to be on the outside. If your cash flow stops flowing, everything stops.
Exactly.
But I learned how to diversify strategically. And I think if you do so, the key is you always want to be able to come back and market another day, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's in today's world, it's a little different today than it used to be. I mean, you can ship all over the world, and it's in the old days. I remember we had to get, just even inside Europe, we had to get clearance to ship, from the UK into Germany. You had to go through customs, I mean, it was crazy, some of the stuff that we had to learn over those days. But it's fun to kind of hang out and talk some of the old stuff. But I want to go back. Do you remember what was one of your first big grand slams, one of your first big hits back in the day?
Yeah, I had 2 that are notable because there's very good lessons behind them. The first one I had was Icy Hot, the product that now is in stores, and I'll tell the story in 2 minutes. We had no marketing capital, but we learned that every time we got 10 first-time buyers at $3, we got 8 people to buy every month forever until there was a cure for arthritis or bursitis. And that was not it. Half of the 8 would buy at least another product every month, and that wasn't it. Half of the 4 would buy twice a year bulk. And what happened was every time we got 10 buyers, we made $50 net per client per year forever. And with that, I was able to go to 1,000 radio stations, television stations, publications, media, and do PO per order. And we were the first ones that gave away more than 100%. And they thought we were crazy. We let him keep all the money, and we gave him another 45 cents, and we could have given $40, but we created 500,000 buyers in the first year. We got $27 million of no-cost advertising, which today would have been about 150 million. We forced retail distribution. There's two interesting stories. It became a consumer product instead of a mail order product. It was purchased for, I think, 60 million. I didn't own the business, by G.D. Searle, that was purchased by someone else. G.D. Searle was a big Chicago pharmaceutical company. But here's what was hilarious. Their mindset was purely consumer. All we had to do was sign a non-compete to arthritis. They didn't want the distribution channel. They didn't want the 1,000 TV radio stations. They didn't want the 500,000 buyers that were generating all. And we just went into another geriatric product line and started all over again. So that was a big one. Entrepreneur Magazine was the second big one. When we started, nobody even knew what entrepreneur meant. We had to send out mailings that had the Webster's Dictionary explanation, the phonetic pronunciation. But what made it successful, it started out, it wasn't a magazine. It was a $100 a month membership-based organization that you got tchotchkes, you got a plaque, you got a card, you got some discounts. But what you got was a magazine formatted publication every month that had about a 22 to 30 page overview of an emerging small business opportunity, tune-up shops, yogurt shops, and it would give you all the perspectives, who to go to franchise, do it yourself, risk, investment, yield, asset value. But every month when the issue was outdated, it would just go into archive. I took all the archives, we added boilerplate, we turned them into startup manuals, and we sold 300,000 of them the first year for $39. And then we took them and we reconstituted them by category: low investment, food service, automotive, asset building. And that's what really made that thing go. We grew at about 900% in a year. Those were my two big starts.
Was that in the Chase Revel days? Do you remember Chase?
Sure. That was Chase Revel. That's right. Chase Revel was the guy that did it, and he was hilarious. And he was
a bank robber. Remember? Didn't he have like a history? He walked into a bank with a note, and I remember the early days of Chase Revel. That was the
nobody
late
knew
70s.
that. Early, he was able to he had a PR guy that had been the PR guy for Capitol Records for the Beatles, and the guy got all these. It's hilarious. All these cities, the mayors would give him the key because it was entrepreneurship, the key to the city. And then after he got great visibility, somebody did an investigation and turned out that wasn't even his name.
Yeah.
And he had a very, let's call it a storied background.
Is he still alive, by the way? Or
I heard he was living on a big yacht in Boca.
Okay.
But I haven't talked to him for 10 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He started out with a very simple headline: who's really making a bundle?
Right.
And then we created another one: Confessions of a Hard-Nosed Millionaire.
Right.
Yes.
So a lot of people, I don't tell the story very often, but the reason I know about Chase is when he sold the magazine, or I don't know if it went into bankruptcy or something.
It did. It went into 11.
Right. So the new guys called me, and it was,
I wasn't there, by the way. I grew it, and then what happened was they doubled and redoubled their overhead because they decided they were a New York publishing company.
Yeah,
and they went and got in trouble.
Boulevard in Los Angeles. I remember went in there. They put me on the cover, and
it was upstairs. You remember that?
Upstairs, yeah. The downstairs.
Yeah, I think it was a deli downstairs.
Yeah. So I walked in there. They were doing a story on me, and I'm seeing people buy these manuals. And I said, we should set one of these. I was in the franchising business.
Yeah.
We should set one of these up everywhere. So I got the rights to joint venture with Entrepreneur, start a business stores. And we opened up 30 of them on a licensing basis. So around the country.
For the time, that was a great idea.
Yeah, it was. So we had 30 Entrepreneur Magazine started business stores around the country that I
cool.
owned equity in with Entrepreneur. It was,
it was, and then, they changed the model, and whoever bought it, I mean, they gotta give them credit because it's endured and it has a position in the marketplace.
yeah, it went highbrow a little bit.
In the beginning, it was,
mainstream
I
advertising.
remember I would go to some of I'm doing this with embarrassment. I would go to some of his trade shows, and he was a little bit, let's not say he, I don't want to be critical. They were a little bit indiscriminate. They would have people trying to sell, and it made me a little bit shocked, distributorships on a chicken and that would read fortunes, a live chicken in a booth. And I'd go, oh my God. But here's what was really cool. He used to do conferences and conventions where it was per event. You paid $39 to go to a different event. And we started recording them and combining them and turning all those sessions into products. People don't realize how valuable redeploying an asset is. There's more money in letting somebody else sink the capital and then getting control of the reuse rights.
In those manuals, like you said, I think 70% of the manuals were boilerplate, and then they had the tailored portion to, the specific industry. And it was amazing business because that's how they
for the genre. It was incredible. But I'll tell you what was really hard. I had, and you'll laugh about this. I have two stories, and then you can go anywhere you want, or we can stop. When I started, I had two different requirements. I had to create members all the time to service the overhead of producing the manuals, and then we would make all our money selling the catalogs. And I had to have both of them going concurrently. But I'll remember when I first got there, it was hilarious. They told me they had some huge number of members, and Chase was out of the office for a couple of weeks, and I had the subscription person come, and the numbers were about half. And I was a little shocked because I'd moved from a good job in Santa Barbara. But secondly, I looked at what they were selling, and the highest, this is where strategic critical thinking comes in. They were this is what people really don't understand if they're in the catalog business. They were selling certain things in a catalog. They would allocate the same relative space to everything, not looking at what was selling 10 times more, nor would they even put the high sellers up front. And I look at it and I thought, okay, this little square that's 3/4 of the way in the back is generating 80% of your revenue. Why in God's name would you put it first and give it 2 pages?
Right.
And they go, well, we never thought about that.
Right. Yeah. That was the early days of marketing. And it's funny. I've known you a lot of years, but we got to get on a podcast to realize we go back to, we were both partners.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's funny.
Magazine, right? But so are you now I think we got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Are you now into the world of digital? Or you
Yes and no. I'm not very good technologically, but I help a lot of technology people because I know if you tell me what it's supposed to do,
right,
I can do it. I'm a senior advisor to the Kairos Society, if you know what that is, and they usually have 8 out of the 30 on the Forbes 30 under 30. I help a bunch of startups, and I help a bunch of technology companies. I help the company that Google turns to when they have a $500,000 to $1 million a month client, and they want them to spend more by getting more ROI. The company that does all the technical stuff, I help them not with the technical stuff, but with articulating their value to the market.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't sell. We give greater things away because most people can't afford me, and I'm not a big product seller anymore, but I'm very involved in real commerce of all kinds all over the world.
Well, we could probably do a podcast a week with Abraham, Seth. Why don't you wrap it up? and finish up, Seth, with the last questions, guy. I love talking to Jay, and I'm sure I'll see you at a conference coming up.
Yeah, no, and I hope so. I hope we get a chance to really spend some time together, because
Yeah.
we do have a lot of historic commonality we don't even realize.
Yep.
Absolutely. Jay, thank you so much for your time. We know how valuable it is. We're incredibly grateful for your participation today. For our listeners and our viewers who are fascinated as we are with all things Jay Abraham, where is the place that you want us to send them to where they consume the most content of Jay?
I mean, the best thing, Seth, is we have a great URL. It's abraham.com/50 shades, the number 5, the number O, and then shades. And it's no opt-in. It doesn't sell anything. It's got 800 hours of better content, very frankly, than most people sell. And it's how I can be a benefactor to entrepreneurs who can't afford me. So it's pretty cool stuff, and we don't try to monetize it. And it's helped a lot of people. And you give that out, it's great. And I enjoy both of you. And Kevin, just as a remark, I've admired your work and your diversity and your passion and your breakthrough thinking for as many years as I have been doing it. And you stay relevant, and you stay on the cutting edge, and you stay vibrant, and you stay committed hopelessly to uncovering things. Yes. I think that's what turns us on, don't you?
Yeah. Sometimes it's hopeless, but you got to keep plugging, Yeah. I think I watched a movie the other night, and this has been some line that I've used for years. It was Winston Churchill said that success is being able to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. And I said that.
I love that.
Sums up my life,
Yeah, no, but I mean, but here's what people don't realize. If you don't keep expanding and uncovering, opportunities or new paths, you'll never find breakthroughs.
Right.
One breakthrough makes up for a lot of breakdowns, as long as you don't piss away too much money. Excuse my vulgarity.
Right. You got it.
Well,
Jay, it's been a pleasure catching up with you again.
It's my honor.
Thank you, bud. See you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Go to abraham.com/50 shades.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Kev.
See you. Bye-bye.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.